Hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday, the 6th of February 2026, including Sabrina Carpenter and Seth Rogen joining the Muppets for a one-off special on Disney Plus, and a new Channel 4 documentary series about the trial of Michael Jackson.
And we'll also be checking out the return of legal drama The Lincoln Lawyer and raising a glass to our Yorkshire pub rescue with the very funny Jon Richardson on More 4 and Channel 4 streaming. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Ted Lasso will return for a fourth season on Apple TV this summer, which will see Ted coaching a second division women's team. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, Legally Blonde prequel Elle, starring newcomer Lexi Mindtree, will drop on Prime Video this July.
Good stuff. Well, another varied smorgasbord for your delectation this week. We start on Channel 4 and Channel 4 streaming with a new documentary series called Michael Jackson, The Trial. And here's a clip.
Dozens of investigators swarmed Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. The search is tied to allegations from a 12-year-old boy that he was molested by Jackson.
Sheriff's Department, we have a search warrant.
I was told that if you say or do anything, you're going to kill your career.
Are there any secret rooms?
Michael had some kind of control over me. I didn't say what I should have said.
Tonight, Jackson is wanted by police.
So, of course, it was Channel 4 that showed Leaving Neverland and the follow-up to that, in which two now grown men talked about the fact that they said they had been sexually abused, groomed and sexually abused by Michael Jackson. And certainly for me, it left me in no doubt that that really had happened. So this is going back to 2005 when Jackson was on trial. He was accused of molesting 13-year-old Gavin Arvizo, who was a young lad with cancer who went to stay at the Neverland estate in California. He'd already paid out a huge, something like $23 million to, is it Jordan Chandler and his family, who had previously wanted to take out a civil lawsuit against Jackson about a similar accusation. But he still said he hadn't done anything. There's still some Jackson apologists in this. Unsurprisingly, his lawyer, who has worked for the family for quite some time. It will be quite interesting to learn exactly what happened in the trial, because I don't remember it that clearly. I mean, obviously it was massive because he was probably the world's biggest celebrity at the time. I mean, what a story. And in episode 1, it recalls the documentary, the Martin Bashir documentary, in which the bombshell was dropped that boys used to sleep in, young boys, very young boys, used to sleep in Michael Jackson's bedroom. I mean, everything about Michael Jackson is pretty weird looking back. Everything about him. I mean, I know he had a very complex childhood, of course, but yeah, he was a very unusual person, highly eccentric, and depending on who you believe, he was either just, a sort of harmless oddball who thought he was Peter Pan and loved hanging out with very young boys, or a sexual predator who was never brought to justice. So perhaps this series will further inform the debate. I feel like I've pretty much drawn my own conclusions already. So there's some interesting stuff in it. I mean, the Bashir documentary clips and also the outtakes from the Bashir documentary, which are pretty cringe, where Bashir's saying to him, "Oh, the way you are with your children, it's so lovely, it makes me want to cry." I mean, come on. That's pretty grim. And then also the fact that he made a pilot TV show, a kids TV show, Neverland TV, which in which this young boy who was featured in the trial, he briefly appears. So yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff in this, but it's all just a reminder of what a kind of freak show the whole sorry story was. Yeah, I don't know what you thought of this, Hannah. Did you learn anything new?
Do you know what? It's quite uncomfortable, isn't it? This sort of thing. I feel like a bit of an ostrich with it and burying my head in the sand, because you're right. There are loads of people that, you know, feel that this didn't happen, that he was just a Peter Pan, as you say. But this, you know, going back into the trial and looking in really quite forensic detail at all, his relationship with the media, his relationship with lots of different people, I think you do learn more. I think we always think we know, and then you actually see real footage, and I think you always will learn something a bit more, and I think I did with this too. I'm not sure that it changes my opinion at all, and I do find it quite uncomfortable, a lot of the stuff that goes on, and not least his childhood. You know, his childhood, as you referenced, was extreme in parts, and again we go back to talking about child stars, and that's exactly what he and his family was, but that's no apology for anything that may have happened after that. That's no excuse, of course, but I think watching this is interesting no matter what your feelings are, whether you believe or don't believe, or, you know, say wherever you stand. I think this is a deep dive into somebody who is incredibly famous, their life and their relationship with the press. And, you know, even when you think about it, back in the day, a number of years ago, I think one of his children's called Blankets, and he kind of hung him over the balcony. I remember that shock. I was really young at the time. I remember that's just so shocking. But there's so much of his life that's shocking. There's so much that's just not, in inverted commas, normal. It's extreme, it's odd, it's bizarre behaviour. And I think in the celebrity world, a lot of that gets sort of explained away as celebrity world. You know, you can just be a bit crazy, can't you? Because you're a celebrity. You can dress and wear whatever you want because you're a celebrity, and you want people to look. This goes beyond that, I think. And this is a really, as I say, a very forensic look at that trial, at his life, and who he is. So I think it is interesting, as I say, but uncomfortable at times.
A welcome bit of light relief after that. Over on Disney Plus, we have a celebratory revival of The Muppet Show. And here is a clip.
I'm doing the show again, Frog. Oh, that's right.
Oh my God, it's you. You're my idol.
You're sweet. Go on.
I grew up watching you. My parents grew up watching you. Their parents grew up watching you.
We are so excited to be back where it all started and then ended and then is maybe starting again, depending on how tonight goes.
Yes, so this is to celebrate 50 years. It's the 50th anniversary of The Muppet Show. And it's funny because I hate to say this, but because I'll probably get lambasted, because it's just iconic, isn't it? And everybody loves the Muppets. I don't think I watched much of it originally. I just sort of remember Miss Piggy and Kermit, and there's been lots of kind of different things that they've been involved in between. But of course, the actual Muppet Show is all about... it's about creating a show, and of course this is being brought back, and it hasn't been made too differently, and I was a bit worried about that. I thought it might be a bit too sort of try hard, because Seth Rogen is the executive producer on this and also appears within it, and I just thought they might try really hard to make it a little bit different, but they don't. It's still that variety show, and there's still lots of things absolutely going wrong. And I think what it does do is it sets the scene to do much, much more if it takes off and people really like it. And I do think if you liked the original Muppets, you will like this. It is funny in places. I'm not a huge fan of the fake audience clapping in the background and laughing. Actually, there's less clapping in this, but more laughing. I don't particularly like that much. There's some big names in here. Sabrina Carpenter, she features an awful lot. She sings an awful lot too. And there's a scene quite early on where Miss Piggy meets her and they're wearing the same outfit. So Miss Piggy just, completely takes her, she's so, she makes some joke about her lawyer being in touch about the way she looks, copying her and what have you. And it's just got some funny elements to it. And, Seth Rogen is a comic actor. So straight away there's sort of, he's got comedic bones. So that definitely comes through. And he, as I say, he does make a cameo in the episode. 2/3 of the way through, I think, roughly, Sabrina Carpenter sings Islands in the Stream with Kermit. And I think that was the bit that I started to really get into it. I started to sway. And you got Miss Piggy like in this fake boat, trying to get to them. And that's when I thought, okay, this is warming the cockles now. I think it does. It certainly sets the scene for some more. I don't know what you think, Ian, but I really think if you're a fan of it before, they certainly have revived it, and you're not going to go away thinking, oh, it was so much better before. I really don't.
I loved the Muppet Show. I grew up with it. It's superb, and you're right. They haven't changed it. It's as good as ever. I'm pretty sure after this one-off, it has to come back, and it just, with the celebrity guests, it just puts them in such an unusual situation that you see a totally different side to them, I think. And yes, Sabrina Carpenter, she's just fantastic. Her acting alongside lots of Muppet chickens, which is very amusing. Can I say, Seth Rogen, he sounds a bit like Fozzie Bear. Yes, so in a way, it's strangely appropriate. There's a very funny Bridgerton sort of pastiche featuring Miss Piggy, who is by far, as she would attest herself, the standout star of the Muppets. So yeah, it is so good to see it back, and I hope there will be more to follow. On Netflix, we have the return of legal drama The Lincoln Lawyer. And here's a clip.
Every murder case is like a tree. And it's the prosecutor's job to feed and water that tree.
I'm the man with the axe. I'm going to cut that tree down to the ground.
How's he doing today? Psychotically optimistic, and I kind of want to choke him. I know that guy.
I'm being framed for murder. How much worse can it get?
Mickey, one thing I've learned working for you is things can always get worse.
I'd never watched this one before, Hannah. It's season 4. We call them seasons now, don't we? Because we're all Americanized. 10 episodes. And of course, well, it's based on a book, I think, and it was made into a film starring Matthew McConaughey. And the Lincoln Lawyer, whose name is Micky Haller, he's a defense attorney. In this, he's played by Manuel Garcia Rulfo. He got his moniker because he used to do a lot of work out of his Lincoln automobile. Okay. So I did go right back. All the seasons are on Netflix. So I did go right back to the start just to check out, okay, who are the main characters? What's the setup? And what happened was, as fans will know, so Mickey unexpectedly inherited a legal practice when a famous lawyer was killed, and he'd written him into his will. So that was a big surprise. So he kind of assembled this team around him. He's a very good defense lawyer. He's got a couple of ex-wives, one of which is played by Neve Campbell from Scream, who will be featuring in this. But there was a big cliffhanger at the end of season 3. Just maybe switch off if you want to go back and watch all of it and you don't want the spoiler. They were all celebrating the end of a very difficult case, the team were, and then Mickey was driving home. He's pulled over by a cop. Oh my God, there's a body in the trunk, and it's the body of his former client, Sam Scales. So yes, basically, as we rejoin, he's in prison awaiting his trial, but of course, he's going to be representing himself, and Meanwhile, all his current clients are sort of don't want to work with the firm because he's in jail and they can't get any new clients. So money is tight. He's up against a pretty formidable prosecuting attorney. I mean, a lot of it's pretty cheesy, I won't lie. Some of the dialogue is pretty ripe, but it's kind of comfort TV, I think. It's quite enjoyable seeing the courtroom stuff, and they're just likeable characters, really. I mean, it's very corny, but I can't help myself. I kind of like it. What did you think of this, Hannah?
I quite like legal dramas and, stuff like this, basically. I do really like it. This sort of goes behind the scenes, though, a bit, doesn't it? Because the person that's usually doing the accusing becomes the accused, and it's very, it's heavy in places. It is a bit corny, as you say, but, well, some of the script is, but actually, I think it's a slightly different side to things, and seeing the wheels fall off for somebody who's usually so sort of together and has to bring these cases together. So I did really enjoy it. This is his toughest case yet, obviously. You see him kind of really breaking down, and as I say, I think that's the bit that's a little bit different here. But I love legal dramas. You get sort of embroiled in them really, really quickly, and I find myself shouting at the TV.
Objection overruled, counsel. You may approach the bench.
Case dismissed.
I should have been a lawyer. God. Anyway, we're going to finish on More 4 and Channel 4 streaming with a new reality series called Our Yorkshire Pub Rescue with Jon Richardson. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But anyway, here's a clip.
I absolutely love pubs. I think they're a really special part of British culture. And the only thing I don't love about them is how many seem to be closing. And a few months ago, I visited a beautiful village in North Yorkshire where a community had raised the cash to buy their local. It's safe to go in, yeah?
Yeah.
Wowee. It's called The Plough, and anyone can become a shareholder to help get the pub back on its feet.
This has been heavily promoted on the telly box, I've noticed. And it's really nice to see Jon Richardson doing something like this, actually, because we obviously know him as the comedic couple before they split with his wife. And this is something just really, really different. So he sort of fulfills his dream of owning a village pub, because actually this pub has been bought by the locals. They have gone in and they've tried to save a pub, but it's taken years. I think something like 15 years as he steps in. He buys shares in it. So he's a really big shareholder. And TV crews essentially follow him trying to help do the DIY, sort it out to reopen this pub called The Plough. I don't know if you remember, but when he was filming with his wife on their comedy show, he had the pub in his garden. Do you remember? It's called the Dog and Bastard. Do you remember that? So we know he loves the pub. And he invests his time, he invests his money and his DIY skills, which are pretty rubbish, to be honest with you. And a lot of people laugh at him. But do you know what? He tries. And what's so lovely is the community feel. And I think in a world where it doesn't feel very like that at the moment, where people are pulling together and people are sort of pulling apart, this is really lovely to see a village all coming together. If they've got 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, half a day, whatever, they're going down there and giving their time and experience to trying to create this the village pub all over again. And I think for a time he runs this, he will run it, but I think eventually it will have to go to somebody who can look after it properly. And pubs are really struggling across the country, aren't they? It's really hard for them to keep open. So it's a bit of a vanity project, but also one that has made, I think, great television. And you can just see the passion and the want and the drive. So although he sort of fronts it and he's funny in places, and he calls himself a bit miserable, he says he's actually a lot more miserable than he comes across. You see, as a community feel of people just trying to make something back to its former glory, essentially. It's 250 years old. There's so much work. I don't think he realised quite how much work was needing doing to it. And he said in the interview that I read that he told his accountant that it was long-term goal to own a pub, and that's the closest his accountant has come to punching him. So that's obviously what he thought about him investing money in it. I think it's a really good view. I really enjoyed it. I like Jon Richardson. What do you think?
Why has no one ever thought of getting a celebrity to help renovate a property before, Hannah? Oh, no, they have quite a lot. However, I really like Jon Richardson. He's kind of just unapologetically himself, which I rather enjoy. And as you say, like, pubs are in serious trouble. And in fact, this sort of community ownership model is a really positive one. We've got two near us actually that happened to.
Have you? That's cool.
And it's actually in Fadmoor in North Yorkshire, isn't it? And I mean, it's been empty since 2011, but it's got into a right state, hasn't it? It just looks as if it's been derelict for decades and decades. So it's just a real feel-good story, because you're meeting all the locals who have banded together, and they all have full-time jobs, but they're giving their kind of money and time, and especially in villages, the pub is the social hub. They're so important, So I love Jon. In fact, I've interviewed him a couple of times, and we always like to swap compliments about whatever cardigan we're wearing. He's a big cardigan fan, isn't he? But I do like him, and I enjoyed this. This is real kind of comfort TV. It's good stuff. Well, we've got to that time, young Hannah Maladio, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching this week.
Well, I am a bit of a fan of Michael McIntyre. I met him once at the NTAs many years ago, and I am a bit of a fan of him, and I needed a bit of light-hearted cheering up. So I watched the Michael McIntyre Big Show, which is always it's just quite funny. I particularly love it when he takes someone's phone and goes through it for the audience to watch. That's particularly funny, and also seeing the celebrity in question squirm, it's also funny. And also, The Masked Singer, do you know what? When that started, I really thought that probably couldn't last. It was just the weirdest concept, but it's still going, and I think it's getting better in every season.
Okay, well, he's a Spurs fan, of course, McIntyre, so he's all right in my book. Well, I tried to watch Saltburn again, the sort of very racy Oxbridge Brideshead type drama, but Bob was barking so much we had to turn it off and go to bed. And I also, after I'd watched episode 1 of the Take That documentary series, I just burned through the rest of those, and it's just really good. I love it. Now, and that's, of course, is on Netflix. Saltburn is on iPlayer. We've just got time to look ahead to next week's offering, so what's on the binge watch menu, Hannah?
Mackenzie Crick's magical suburban sitcom Small Profits, starring the detectorist Piers Quigley, arrives on BBC One.
Yes, also features Michael Palin. And we find out how to get to heaven from Belfast in a new Netflix comedy drama from the creator of the brilliant Derry Girls. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners,
keep